Today I'm going to teach you step by step how to make a super cute spring butterfly wreath on the Dollar Tree frame. Welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. Hey guys, it's Nikki here with Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. How is everyone today? Let me just take a quick moment to welcome anyone new here to the channel. Stillwater's Wreath Designs is all about step-by-step wreath making and door swag tutorials. We've got new tutorials uploading every single week, so if you like that sort of thing, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join us. For my friends that have been here on the channel for a while, thank you for coming back. I so appreciate you. You'll find a full materials list for you below in the description of this video so that you can recreate this beauty if you'd like to do so. Of course, if you'd rather just purchase today's creation, I'll leave a link to my Etsy shop below as well. Let me just show you some of the supplies we'll be using today. I've got a bunch of butterfly picks, 2 flowering garland strands from Hobby Lobby, 4 different types of wired ribbon, and an 18-inch round wire wreath frame from the Dollar Tree. The first thing we need to do is attach the flowering garland to our wire wreath frame. This is 6 feet in length. You just want to make sure that you're attaching this spine side down. When you take a look at the wire wreath frame, you can see that it's got 4 rings, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then several crossbars all the way around the entire frame. So we're going to start out by attaching our garland to our wire frame. Now this is on a wire spine, guys, so it's going to bend and take the shape that you want it to. Go ahead and take your wire snips and trim off that end. We don't need that. I've got a handful of 6-inch clear zip ties that we'll be using to secure this guy, and I'm going to start right on the crossbar. So right around rings 3, so if we call these rings 1, 2, 3, and 4, on any crossbar, right around ring 3. And so let me zoom in here, guys. You can see I'm coming underneath at that crossbar so that this guy's not going to slide around. And I'm just going to come through the florals here so that this guy stays tucked away. And I'm going to cinch that down tight. Don't worry about that tail. We'll trim that off in a short bit. So basically at every crossbar, I'm going to attach our flowering garland. Always coming underneath ring 3 at the crossbar caddy corner so that that guy is nice and anchored. Make sure you pull this tautly and keep that zip tie nice and tight around that floral spine. Fluff up that greenery, make sure it doesn't get trapped underneath. And we're going to continue to work our way around this frame, anchoring flowering garland at the crossbar around rings 3 all the way around. All right, let's speed ahead. Your 6-foot greenery garland is going to overlap a bit. That's totally fine. Just overlap it as far as it'll go and anchor down at the crossbar. Go ahead and trim off that excess zip tie from the previous anchoring before you do so. Now that we've got our first strand of greenery garland attached to our wreath base, go ahead and take your small snips and work your way around your wreath and trim off those zip tie tails. And then we'll move on to the next step. So take your hands and just kind of push that garland towards the outside of your wreath frame. It's not going to lay perfectly to the outside. That's just fine. You just want to clear some space as best you can. And we're going to grab our second identical flowering garland and add a second layer. This time we'll be attaching this garland. And so for that first layer, we anchored down our flowering garland at the crossbar at ring 3. This time we'll be following that exact same method, except for we'll be attaching around the crossbar and ring 2. Trim off this excess bit. It's a little bit trickier to do the second bit of your garland, guys, because it likes to tangle on itself a little bit, so give yourself some grace. Just going to let that dangle off of my table. And you can start at any crossbar, this time around ring 2. And again, take that zip tie underneath the crossbar, kind of catty corner. That just keeps it from sliding around. And cinch that guy down tight. So work your way around your wreath, anchor down that second garland, trim off your zip tie tails once you finish, and I'll meet you back here. Once you've got both of your greenery garlands attached to your wire frame, just go ahead and separate out those tangly bits and give them a good fluff. So your base should look something like this. Once you get your base fluffed out, go ahead and set this guy off to the side. We're going to make our bow. Okay, so let's dive into our bow. This is one of the easiest bows to make, and it's such a beautiful bow. So you're going to need a pipe cleaner, a good pair of scissors, and 5 different ribbon types. Now, when I say 5 different ribbon types, we're going to need 5 pieces. So you could certainly use the same exact ribbon all the way through, totally your preference. Typically, I prefer to grab a couple of 2.5-inch wired ribbons and a few 1.5-inch wired ribbons. It doesn't matter the width as long as it's wired. And so we're going to cut our 2.5-inch ribbon. We're going to cut just 1 strip of each at 26 inches in length. And then I'll use that first piece as my guide for the second piece. So again, 1 strip of this second piece at 26 inches in length. And then for the 3 different 1.5-inch ribbons, we need 1 strip of each cut at 24 inches in length. Once you've got all of your ribbon strips cut, we're going to dovetail the ends. So to dovetail the ends, you're going to fold your ribbon in half. This will do both pieces at once. Then fold it in half long way. Grab your scissors, come down on the folded side about 1 inch, and then cut up diagonally to the corner. And that'll give you that pretty V'd dovetail. So go ahead and dovetail every piece of ribbon strip. So I've got my ribbons stacked in the reverse order of how I want to see them in my bow. So I've flipped that over to start with what essentially will be the very first piece of ribbon, which is that pretty butterfly. And we're going to fold this guy into a zigzag. And we're just going to kind of eyeball it. Basically, it's going to be in thirds. Just like that. So we folded it in thirds, so it's zigzag, and it is seam up. Let's do that one more time together. We'll fold our second piece into the same zigzag. And as you can see, guys, this isn't exact, and that's okay. It's going to look just fine. Put that right on top of the butterfly ribbon. We'll grab our third piece, fold our zigzag again, lay that on top. Our fourth piece, we've now moved on to that 2.5-inch ribbon. Follow that same process, guys. Fold it into your zigzag, lay that guy on top. And now we're on to our last piece. And we're going to, yep, you guessed it, fold that guy into a zigzag. Just like that. We've got our ribbon tails stacked up. We're going to grab that very first piece, lay that in front of us, and you want that seam side up. Now you can either fold this in half to identify the center. You can measure it if you feel more comfortable. I'm just going to eyeball. You're going to identify that center point and just pinch and gather. Just like that. And then hold that in your left hand. Grab your next piece. Identify that center. pinch and gather. Lay that right on top. We're going to follow the same method for all of our strips. Once you've got all those ribbons stacked up into your hand nicely, grab your pipe cleaner, fold that into a loose V just to identify that center point. Slide that in underneath your thumb. Flip that bow stack over. Cinch that pipe cleaner up as tight as you can get it, tight, tight, tight. And give that 3 or 4 tight spins, just like that. And so now it's time to fluff. You can fluff your bow out however you wish. I prefer to start at the bottom. I pull that bottom layer into an X. And so your tails are going one way, if you can see that, and your loops the other. And then I'm going to go to that next layer, do the same thing. Once you've got everything separated out into an X, just open up those loops. So I'm just going to, one at a time, open up those loops and spend a couple of minutes fluffing. Look how cute that turned out, guys. All right, let's grab our wreath and get this added in. We're going to throw some tails in as well. So to make ribbon tails, guys, we're going to cut 1 ribbon tail of each ribbon type at 24 inches in length. So just measure out that first piece of ribbon, and then you can use it as a guide for the other ribbon types. Once you've got those strips cut, go ahead and lay them down in the order that you wish to see them. I'm going to follow the same pattern that we used for our bow. Once you've got those all layered together, fold that stack in half. That's just going to show you where that middle point is. That's going to give you, that crease will be your center. We're going to pinch that together and pull those guys down. Grab your bow, come to the back side where that pipe cleaner is, and secure this guy down. So I've just added it to that pipe cleaner, and I'm going to give it 2 or 3 super tight twists. We'll pull those tails down, and now we're going to add this into our wreath. I always look for the thinnest spot on my wreath because I know our bow is going to help cover it then. I think over here looks pretty good. We're going to run those pipe cleaners right through our wreath and then flip it over. And you want your pipe cleaner to basically come around those inner 2 rings and cinch that guy up tight. Now before we trim that off, we're going to flip that over and make sure nothing moved on us. Nope, still looks great. We've squished our bow, but we'll fix that in a little bit. So I'm going to give that 2 or 3 more tight twists. I'll grab my small snips here and trim those ends off. And we're going to fold that little nub back into the wreath and flip our wreath back over. And I'm going to fluff back out our bow. Okay. Then we're going to leave our tails alone until we're finished adding in our butterflies. So I've got my hot glue gun heated up. I'm going to grab this bushel of butterflies, and we're just going to sprinkle these guys all the way through our wreath. So I'm going to trim off 6 or so, coming down about 2 to 3 inches there on that stem. And that may be too long, but we can trim some off if we need. So when you get these guys from Amazon, guys, they're a little bit just folded up. You can tell they've been traveling, so I like to open up those wings. And then when I add these in, I'm going to dry place them first, and then we'll go back through and glue. But once you've got this initial layer in place and you're happy with that placement, go ahead and glue those guys in. So all I'm going to do is grab my butterfly. I'm going to run about 1 inch to 1.5 inch bead of glue right there on that stem and anchor him back in. So take a few minutes and get all your butterflies down. So while that layer is drying, I'm going to grab a 10-inch cardboard insert. This actually came from the center of a used up roll of 10-inch deco mesh, and I keep one of these in my toolbox to curl my ribbon. So to make curled ribbon tails, guys, you're just going to take your tube, wrap that ribbon bit around it, and curl that ribbon up to the center of your bow. And because it's wired, it's going to hold its shape. If the curl is too tight, just give it a gentle tug. If it's too loose, just re-roll it. How stinking cute is that? I'm going to add one more butterfly right here in this corner, and then I think this one will be finished. You guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. It really helps my little channel to grow. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and join us. This beauty is finished. How stinking cute and springy. Thanks for spending time with me today, friends. Happy crafting.